all your school rugby, all in one place. This is Next Gen 15.
Hello and welcome to this week's top 5 school teams of the weekend. It's week 10 and what a weekend it was. Some absolutely epic encounters, including a couple of live streams here on Next Gen 15. It's been great fun, but before we get stuck into it, please another reminder to just subscribe and hit that notification bell. Makes the world of difference to us and really helps us bring schools rugby to you, and that notification bell means that you get notified every time we have a new video, and there are some big videos coming up as a result of those live streams. Some really good highlights videos coming your way very shortly, and of course please do make sure to follow us on social media at NextGen15 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the works, and of course head to the website where we've got loads of stuff going on, www.nextgen15.com. that's nextgenxv.com. But more importantly, on with the top 5 school teams of the weekend, and this weekend some absolute belters. It was a really great weekend. Some games unfortunately lost due to the weather. The north of England and Scotland particularly badly hit. Real shame, but really good to see so many games manage to go ahead. What games did go ahead were absolutely epic, and as ever, narrowing it down to just 5 was an absolute nightmare, but we've given it our best shot. And remember, these are in no particular order, they're just alphabetical, it's not a ranking, it's just 5 teams that unbelievably impressed us this weekend. Up first, it's Berkhamsted, an absolutely fantastic performance from them once again. They beat RGS High Wycombe 25-5. Probably the significance of that result was that in midweek they'd gone to Monmouth and beaten them in the Schools Cup to reach the quarterfinals. That meant that it was a team that was fatigued and there were a lot of changes. That unbeaten record, remember, needing to be preserved, looking for a high Daily Mail Trophy finish, wanting to carry that cup run on, facing an RGS High Wycombe team that have had a couple of really good results recently. Remember, they were in last week's top 5, but Berkhamsted with a 25-5 win, preserving that unbeaten record. They played 11, won 10, drawn just 1, and that was against Harrow, and we know how good they are. It's their 4th week in the top 5, and they're playing some absolutely brilliant rugby. They've got a real shot, not just in the cup where they're in that quarterfinal stage, heading to Trinity in a couple of weeks' time probably, but also of gaining that Daily Mail Trophy. They are riding so high, riding in 4th place, just a couple of games to come. Haileybury and Dulwich College, they had high finishes the last time the Daily Mail Trophy was played, so they are big points gatherers for Berkhamsted, so keep an eye out for Berkhamsted. They are playing fantastically and are back in our top 5 for the 2nd week on the trot. Next up, it's Millfield, and what a performance from them at the weekend against Clifton College. A 23-13 victory in front of our live stream cameras. I urge you to go and watch that game on our YouTube channel. There's going to be highlights coming out later this week that are going to be brilliant as well. It was a tremendous performance from Millfield, and I apologise if it seems like they're always in this top 5. It's just the way they're playing at the moment. They are doing fantastic things, beating some of the best around. It's really impressive to watch, and on Saturday they were particularly impressive. A really controlled and mature display from them, encapsulated by fly half Sam Harris. And I tell you what, his battle with Clifton's fly half Sam Worsley was one for the ages. They're unbeaten, 8 from 8, winning of course that unbeaten head-to-head against Clifton College. 6th week in the top 5. I mean, they really are just an ever-present feature. St Joseph's Festival champions as well, and they've got a real shot at claiming the Daily Mail Trophy as well. They're in 5th at the moment, but with Monmouth coming up today, the result of that may well be in by the time you watch this video, and then Sedbergh next week. There are some huge fixtures, big points available for Millfield. They could be in with a shot of winning a maiden Daily Mail Trophy title. Hard to believe they've never won one before. They've got a big chance this year, and if they play like they did at the weekend, well, anything's possible. They were fantastic. Next in this week's top 5, Oakham, who are really starting to feel like the dark horses of this season. They knocked Rugby School out of the cup, remember, a week ago. a result probably few people saw coming, but that's the quality that Oakham have been playing with. Remember, they're one of the few schools that have truly challenged Sedbergh this season. They're playing at that kind of level, and at the weekend they were at it again. A fantastic 48-0 home victory over their close rival Stamford. Now, Stamford had a red card, but it came late on. That Oakham performance was built on real industry and quality. It was absolutely brilliant. They've lost 3 games, yeah, sure, but they've had a tough old season with cancellations and a bit of COVID knocking around and stuff. 8 wins from 11 is absolutely fantastic. It's almost a surprise it's only their second week in the top 5 because they have been brilliant. And as this season comes to a climax, Oakham are hitting their stride in a big, big way. They've got 2 huge games coming up. Stowe, we know how good they are. And then Uppingham, the Rutland Derby, those 2 close schools, they share a crest, they share a founder. There's so much to love about that fixture on the 11th of December, and it is going to be massive. Oakham at the moment flying high. They're going to be so full of confidence heading into those final 2. Down in 34th place in the Daily Mail Trophy at the moment. I expect them to be rising in that because they are playing fantastic rugby. 48-0 win in that derby game against Stamford. Forget the red card. It was all about the performance. Brilliant stuff from Oakham. Up next, Sedbergh. Now, most people probably expected them to beat Kings Macclesfield on the weekend, and probably most people expected them to do it relatively comfortably. But I'll tell you what, 69-0 is a huge scoreline and a huge performance from Sedbergh. Not just in the simple terms that you see it on paper, but also because we saw that epic contest in midweek on our live stream against Wellington College, that 32-all draw. And by the way, do go and watch that elsewhere on our YouTube channel. Absolutely fantastic game. But the long shot of that was Sedbergh had to change their team massively to go to Kings Macclesfield because those players were exhausted. So they ring the changes in and they lose absolutely nothing. A 69-0 win, remain unbeaten, played 9, won 8, drawn just that 1 against Wellington. There's going to be some highlights of that game coming up shortly actually, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. So their 4th week in the top 5. They are flying high at the top of the Daily Mail Trophy table. It's going to take something special to knock them off. Even if Millfield go up to Sedbergh next week and beat them, it may even not be enough. Sedbergh are playing that well. It's going to have to be a dominant performance from Millfield. Got a game against Llandovery College as well, that classic fixture against the Welsh Giants, just to round things off. And Sedbergh are going oh so well. The final team in this week's top 5 school teams of the weekend, St Benedict's, back for the 2nd week in a row. And why not? What a fantastic performance they had once again at the weekend. 26-0 home win over John Fisher. Traditionally a cracking game that. They're unbeaten still, other than that loss in the Cup to Harrow. In every other game, they've come out on the winning side. 8 wins from 8 non-Cup games. They're riding high in the Daily Mail Trophy. Get this, St Benedict's are 2nd in the Daily Mail Trophy table. And with Tiffin and Magdalen College to come, they have every chance, if a couple of results go their way, of at least finishing in 2nd and possibly even claiming the big prize. Coaching team of Zoran Higgins and the newly introduced Sam Howard. Tell you what, that is one for the ages. Remember a couple of those Dulwich College and Hampton battles? Well, those are the 2 guys at the helm there, and they've come together here at St Benedict's and are putting something very, very special together. It is so impressive, and we are really, really looking forward to seeing what St Benedict's can do in these final 2 fixtures. Can they keep it going? You've got to think they're the favourites for those 2. But the performances of late, particularly last week against St John's, this week against John Fisher, that's 2 tricky games and they have dealt with them in such brilliant fashion. So excited to see what happens with St Benedict's in the final couple of weeks of this season. Now, we always like to have a look at some of the sides that nearly made it towards the end of these videos. You know, choosing just 5 teams out of hundreds of fixtures each weekend is an absolute nightmare. And there are always so many sides that really deserve a place in the top 5, but don't just quite make it, often by the smallest of margins. And remember, it's just one man's opinion, this top 5. But just a couple of others that really stood out for us this weekend. RGS Guildford going up to Abingdon and winning 22-14. That's now 3 away victories on the bounce for RGS Guildford. They're playing some really good stuff. We love this one. Kirkham Grammar School, unbeaten. We know how good they are. Almost surprising they've not been in the top 5 more often. They were over in Northern Ireland playing Ballymena Academy, winning 22-3 over there. A touring game, how good is that? And now Kirkham Grammar School have beaten sides from every single part of the UK. Whitchurch High School at the St Joseph's Festival, George Watson's College from Scotland in pre-season, and now Ballymena Academy, and of course everyone they faced in England. Really good stuff from Kirkham Grammar. Bishop Wordsworth 48-5 at home against Portsmouth Grammar. That's a cracking result for Bishop Wordsworth. Churches College, how about this? 72-0 at home against Christ Hospital. Churches College have been really consistent this season. They've had some absolutely awesome results. And then one of our 10 to watch fixtures, Cranley 12, Hampton 7, a really tight win for Cranley. Really impressive as well. Hampton are a top side. Harrow, another strong win for them, 27-7 at home against Bedford. Harrow looking so good this season. They were a real highlight in the early part of the season. Haven't spoken about them quite as much of late, but they've been so consistent and so good. And then our Friday night live stream, and I want to talk about Enzo Pedersen, the caterer and fly half. He was absolutely brilliant in managing the game in horrible cold conditions at Horsham RFC. Catering winning 28-19. KCS Wimbledon, we know how good they are. They've been in this top 5 so many times, winning 43-3 at home against Emmanuel. And then Kings Bruton 48-0 at home against Warminster. That's a fantastic result. But check this one out from Monkton Combe, 64-0 at home to Queen's College Taunton. QEH equally good though, 45-7 at home to Kingswood. And then how about this, Seaford College with a late try and a conversion from Will Bowley, the fullback, to get a 19-18 victory over Brighton College, and that is a big signature win for Seaford College. Brighton, remember, playing so well, they were in our top 5 last week. And then another massive game from our 10 to watch, Sherborne against Cheltenham College, a really tight game. Cheltenham College getting the victory away from home, a really good performance, 19-15. And then Skinners, well, they've been in the top 5, haven't they? And they've done some really impressive stuff this season. And right up there with some of their best was this weekend, a 50-0 home win against Eltham College. Brilliant from them. St Paul's bouncing back from last week's defeat against RGS Guildford with a really strong victory at home against Solihull, 41-17. And the Oratory, what a fantastic performance. 3-0 down against St Edward's Oxford early on. Not a problem. They come back and win 47-3. Brilliant from them. Tunbridge, of course, one of the top teams around this season. And remember, earlier in the season, they knocked Radley off their stride a bit. Radley College have been absolutely flying. Tunbridge go there and win. Now at home, Radley wanted to give it absolutely everything and did. What a tight game, but Tunbridge just getting it across the line, 13-12. And then a big derby up in Rutland, Uppingham welcoming Northamptonshire's Oundle. This is a huge game up there, I promise you, and Uppingham with the win, 17-9. That's really strong, particularly heading towards that game that we spoke about at the end of the season against old rivals Oakham. And then finally, Rugby School heading to Warwick, who they'd already knocked out of the Cup, backing that up with another really impressive victory, 33-21 away from home. Brilliant stuff from all of those sides mentioned. Before we wrap up, I want to give a bit of a shout out to some of our sponsors who are doing so much to help us bring you as much coverage of schoolboy rugby as we do. Coach Logic have been brilliant. They're our analysis partners, and they're offering you £100 off their analysis platform with the code NextGen15. That's NextGenXV. Head to Coach Logic. It's a fantastic product, player-led analysis. It allows players and coaches to work together on the analysis in their own time. There's a chat function so that you can sort of discuss what's going on. It's really good. Do go and check out Coach Logic. A shout out as well to University of Bristol. Bristol University playing some fantastic rugby at the moment, up at the top of the Bucks Premiership in the south, offering brilliant rugby but also fantastic education. I mean, everyone knows it's one of the top educational institutions in the country. The rugby is headed up by Joe Goodman. Give him a shout. There's so many opportunities available. Brilliant place to continue not just your rugby but also your education. You'll have a great time there. Go and check out Bristol University. And that rounds out our top 5 school teams of the weekend for the 10th week of the season. Berkhamsted, Millfield, Oakham, Sedbergh and St Benedict's making the top 5. All that remains for me to do is thank you very much for watching and to remind you to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Leave us a like if you liked it. Comment with who you think should have been in the top 5. And don't forget to check out our social channels at NextGenXV, at NextGen15, and the website www.nextgen15.com. That's nextgenxv.com. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Catch you next time.